Okay. Um, what is a example of a bad prayer? I'm in Luke chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. I'm going to read the passage. And he also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and looked down on everyone else. Two men went up to the temple to pray. So that's how this parable starts. Like, it's all about prayer. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed these things with reference to himself. God, I give thanks to you that I'm not like other people, swindlers, unrighteous people, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. So he names the Pharisee in this parable names the people groups that he's not like. I fast twice a week. I give a tenth of all that I get. He enumerates what he thinks the substance of his piety is. Maybe he's trying to tell God the ways that he's different from these people groups. Maybe he's trying to tell God what he contributes to God that these other groups don't. And then Yeshua abruptly switches to the tax collector, verse 13. But the tax collector, standing far away, did not want even to raise his eyes to heaven, but was beating his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. The actual word there is hilaskomē, which is used in Hebrews 2, saying that Yeshua had to be made like them in every way in order for him to atone for the sins of the people. It's in, let's see here. So in Hebrews 2:17, therefore he was obligated to be made like his brothers in all respects, in order that he could become a merciful and faithful high priest in the things relating to God, in order to make atonement for the sins of the people. So it seems like what the tax collector is asking is, atone for me, cover my sin. The verb, this verb in Greek, hilaskomē, is used in the Greek Septuagint in two places, and it covers two places. It covers the verb kiper, which is to atone for. So he basically says, God, atone for me, a sinner. And Yeshua then in verse 14 basically gives the interpretation of the prayer to a degree. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than that one. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. This is a really interesting passage, because when I tend to think about people exalting themselves being humbled and people humbling themselves being exalted, I tend to think about that in light of the daily life before humans. But this is an example of people exalting themselves in front of God and people humbling themselves in front of God. And this is an example of a bad prayer. The first man prayed a bad prayer, which is partly what Yeshua means when he says one went down to his house, because the Temple Mount is high and it's the most exalted place on the earth. And so whenever you go to the temple, you go up to the temple. Whenever you leave the temple, you go down. The Pharisee went down to his home, not justified. Part of the point of this is to say, it was like the Pharisee shouldn't have even gone to the temple in the first place. Nothing was accomplished. So it's when I say a bad prayer, I partly mean it's a impotent prayer. It's ineffectual. But it also engenders the idea that what you can expect is judgment for that kind of prayer. So there is such a thing as a bad prayer. And there's such a thing as a good prayer. So that's enough for now. All right.